Well, we're done with Vermilion and its surrounding areas, and much like Pewter and Cerulean, there's going to be no reason to revisit this town. So the gym leader, the ship captain, and everyone else here is completely throwaway, just like Bill, the museum, and the previous two gym leaders. It's actually kind of funny. I don't really mind the main character being a blank slate that you have to imagine characteristics for. I'm annoyed that the majority of the locations and characters we meet in this game are also blank slates. Sure, it's a very interesting world with numerous interesting creatures within it, but give me some bloody character interactions, some recurring characters with solid personalities that interact with us, a goal that we can get especially invested in. Ugh. And now I can't help wondering just how much of my complaints for how bare bones the world feels are going to be addressed in the second generation. Sure, the series doesn't grow all that far in terms of basic structure from the original games, but what growth there is before they more blatantly start spinning their wheels might actually scratch some of those itches. I can't tell if the level difference between regular trainers and gym leaders is more or less extreme than what we saw for the previous two gyms. While I wouldn't be surprised if it is due to how high level we have to be by this point anyway, I also wouldn't be surprised if it isn't and I'm just misremembering things from earlier on in this same playthrough. Yeah, while paralyzing then absorbing might be a solid strategy a good amount of the time, you kinda need to have more options than that when there's a chance the Pokemon you do that to is resistant to your absorption move. Another reason why I don't typically bother with combination moves. You have to devote 2 or more move slots for them, and when you only have 4, you really don't want to spend so many of the slots on something that isn't gonna work under certain circumstances. Well, technically you don't need light from the move Flash, which we don't have at the moment. That would make things more convenient, but it's not necessary to the point that if you don't have Flash, you're not gonna move at all. Wonder how that family feels that this one kid is acting like their house is just part of the road. I'd ask when they're gonna get around to fixing the damage, but then that would imply this game has anything that actually implies that time passes. Maybe that's why later games decide to introduce the clock. When you have the sun literally going up and down in the game numerous times in a playthrough, that does a decent job of conveying time is passing even if the rest of the world is static and doesn't seem to react to much of your actions. Oh dear. I don't think a one-sided beatdown is gonna make you feel better than being just bored. And by the way, if you were bored, then why just stand in that random spot just waiting for a random person to pass you by, when it'd be pretty easy for nobody to even bother interacting with you down there anyway? The man didn't even realize that he only had 2. I'm not sure what guts has to do with anything here. He's not even the first trainer we've dealt with in this recording session. Again, it's easy to seem brave when there's little to no actual danger. I'm sorry, but your dude doesn't have all that much of a chance here. Though at least he's high enough level that he might survive the first shot. Yeah, time to feed another rock snake to Phyllis. I think I've mentioned it somewhere before in this LP, but I love the visual design of Onyx. Unfortunately, he's fairly rare to be able to catch, and typically far more trouble than he's actually worth. I can't even say I appreciate seeing a good-natured loser anymore. We've seen so many at this point. Hell, just how many trainers have we dealt with this far in? I wouldn't know all our Pokemon are in bowls, and it doesn't look like anyone's walking around with their Pokemon following them here. Besides, I'm pretty sure good-looking is especially subjective when you're talking about a multitude of creatures like this. Some people don't like dogs, or bugs, or snakes, or whatever, and I'm certainly not going to hold anyone's irrational phobia against them. Besides, sometimes it's just a matter of not liking the art style for that particular Pokemon generation, or having a preference for badass-looking ones over the cute ones. As if we needed more evidence that Rock Throw isn't an especially great Rock-type move. Seriously, it's one thing for me to miss more often than some of the other moves we throw around, but hitting and still not managing to take down a Charmander that's 3 levels lower than Marbleback here? I think I'm justified in saying that is crap for a move that's supposed to be super effective, especially since last time I checked, the Fire type is similar to the Electric type in that they're typically pretty fragile. And another of the rare bug trainers that decides to evolve his Pokemon past the second form. We just didn't see enough of that considering that Beedrill and Butterfree can be fully evolved by level 10, and we're up to the 20s at this point. Two Beedrills! I'm sorry, is there a reason that Butterfree is so utterly rare in this region? Or would those Beedrills be Butterfrees if I was recording in the blue playthrough? Respectable amount of hits for a respectable amount of damage. Doesn't change the fact that the kid is painfully outclassed, though. I'm sorry, but raising your Pokemon to be the strongest they can be is not a waste of time. Well, sure, there's that, but you should also consider having a full team of 6. Sure, you still would have been outclassed in terms of what level your Pokemon are, but at least you'd have a significantly more amount of opportunities there to wear our Pokemon down a bit, and that would certainly make you a better competitor against the other local trainers as well. Not that we ever see the local trainers bashing against each other. God damn it, just what is so popular about the worm form of these bloody bugs, especially this far into the game? I could get it when we were back near Pewter City, but 3 gyms in, and those younger form bugs shouldn't be a factor anymore. At all. Oh, how scary. Another base form worm. I know I don't typically pay attention to the stats on Pokemon, but I just can't see why anyone would choose to throw a Weedle at any of our lineup, unless it somehow had a 10-level advantage or something, and even then, it would probably get its ass kicked. And no, I don't really care if ass is the right word to use for a worm. Well, at least Venonat is something that we haven't seen as often. That's gotta count for something. Seems more capable of taking a hit than the Weedle or Caterpie at the very least. Part of me wanted to make a quip that this kid essentially just had 1.5 Pokemon to fight us with. The other kind of wishes there was more of a justification for us to fight against these unnamed trainers. Sure, they don't know what they're getting into when they challenge the player character, but after a while it's hard for me to avoid feeling like a bit of a bully for constantly kicking all of their asses. Well, that's the direction we're headed as well, mostly because we don't have a choice. Not that we're gonna see you actually wandering through the rock tunnel or reaching Lavender. That would involve people other than the player character being active around here. And apparently we can't have any of that in this generation. Hell, the only other especially active characters are Giovanni and Gary. And I think Giovanni is the only character in this game who has anything that could be considered character development. Okay, despite far too many misses, Marbleback managed to take that one down. It can't be because Tackle itself has low accuracy. Maybe there's just something about Geodudes that makes them more prone to missing? Well, if you're gonna try digging, I may as well use a flying type against you. Not that Takanabora is especially capable of flying, just that we can use the game's somewhat strange typing of him to avoid the hit. Of course, part of me thinks I should have just taken a hit anyway, considering how little respect I seem to have for the average trainers we've been finding on the road for the most part. And again, this is probably going to be an issue with a lot of the other Pokemon games that I might get around to LPing. This series is definitely not known to be especially difficult in terms of the single-player experience. For a little bit there, I was worried that Marbleback would get poisoned just to make things a little more annoying for me. Well, at least, unlike against Humber, it looks like Marbleback is going to come out on top of this exchange. Probably helps this isn't a Sand Slash, just a Sand Shrew, and that I didn't bother trying to start off with a Rock Throw, and of course, the fact that this guy is a lower level. And that makes 28 for Marbleback, and he's tied his score with Takanabori for now. Assuming I didn't miscount anywhere, that makes the team's overall score 223. Not sure what number I'm expecting to see at the end of the LP, I just know I'm going to use it as a benchmark for other teams I have in the other games in this franchise. A benchmark that will probably only be rivaled by my second generation playthrough, since that not only has Stadium, the endgame is more expansive as well, and maybe I might include Pokemon Heart Gold as well. Still haven't decided if I'm gonna do the remake of the second generation, since I certainly decided not to do Fire Red or Leaf Green. For one thing, in the second generation, I'm not gonna be tiring myself out by doing two versions of the same generation at the same time. So I'll be more willing to do a version with some graphical gameplay updates, as well as this various other things, even as the story doesn't do much to change. Besides, considering I'm going to limit myself to mostly Pokemon that haven't been on either Red or Blue teams for the first generation, with the notable exception of Zubat when I do Crystal, not giving myself that limit for Heart Gold should be a bit of a relief. Doesn't change the fact that I'm annoyed that Pokemon stopped doing the Stadium thing after the second generation, even if I understand why on several levels. If it weren't for the fact that TMs disappear after one use this early in the series, I'd probably have given him Bubble Beam. Though sometimes the various limits can make things more interesting in their own right for the full playthrough. Well, regardless of resistances, Nim's still the top scorer for a reason. Eradicate might not be the strongest physical attacker in the game, but that Hyper Fang is no joke. Even if we're getting to the point where it's not quite a one-hit win against some enemies, even when they're 4 levels under us. Kind of wish the not very effective message was a little less obtrusive in the middle of a fight. There are just way too many instances where we know the enemy is going to be able to resist it, but have to throw the attack anyway just because we don't have any other options that can cause damage. Oh, that was just Nim getting his score up to 44.5. Not something you really need to concern yourself with, sir. Just move on with the rest of your day, just standing still. Is it really condescending when I'm right that you aren't much of an opponent to us? Okay, certainly a higher level than anyone else on this road. Doesn't change the combined facts that this cat is alone and dealing with something that resists its claws. Still, credit where it's due. The girl raised her lone cat pretty well for this stage of the game. Welcome to level 25 with 29 wins on the card, Marbleback. Despite some iffy accuracy, you're still getting the job done. And it looks like Marbleback has graduated to his second form. Going to wait a while longer before doing anything like trading to get everyone who can get to that way to their strongest forms. Some playthroughs, though, I just don't go through the trouble. Sure, Golem looks more awesome than Graveler and has increased stats as well. Same thing with Kadabra versus Alakazam. But trading just feels like an awkward way to go about getting into a new form. But for those of us who grew up without anyone to use a trade cable with, that just felt like such a slap to the face. Seriously, not being able to get one of your favorite creatures just because of something completely beyond your control is such a slap to the face. Definitely appreciate the fact that we get Pokemon sensors at the entrances of these especially annoying caverns, though you'd think there'd be one at the other end as well, something to give the impression that these roads aren't just one way for the rest of society, even if your 10-year-old player character can't get to the other side with them. Anyway, not gonna end this clip on a save like so many of the others. As I'm messing around here with the inventory, I realized we forgot to grab something in Cerulean, so we're gonna end this clip as we gain a super expensive bicycle. Well, that certainly feels like a mistranslation, since the typings are essentially a spider web of weaknesses and strengths. It's not that one is outright stronger than all the rest. At least not intentionally. And yeah, we already sold the nugget we got from the bridge hours before we even got here to hear that we gained that much money from it. And we probably should have grabbed the bike before we even got to this cave. Still, outside of giving us access to one extra road later on, it's not like the bike is absolutely essential. You can access everything that you absolutely need to without it, and it really doesn't add much to the overall game. Sure, for the impatient, it's the only way to speed things up from the standard walk until the series starts giving us running shoes. But you're still so limited where you can bike that it feels more like a hassle to keep pulling it out. Huh. Didn't even have to ask him a thing. Just flash a voucher and here you go. Super expensive bike is in our bag now. Though how does it fit in a bag anyway?